As his supervisor, did you personally respond to 34 Fairview at any point on January 29th?
No, I did not.
On your initial investigation, by 10 or 10:30 in the morning, 10:40 in the morning, it was your belief that Mr. O'Keefe had been struck in the face by a person.
My initial understanding was that the defendant stated that she hit him. We did not know the...
Sergeant, you hadn't even met my client at that point. You hadn't interviewed a single witness by 10:41 in the morning, correct? Not one witness.
At that point, no civilians have been interviewed, no.
But at 10:41, Sergeant, you contacted Good Samaritan Hospital to inform them that, quote, Mr. O'Keefe was struck in the face with a cocktail glass, end quote, correct?
I do not recall contacting Good Samaritan Hospital.
Did you ever contact anybody at any medical facility and indicate that the investigation was being treated as a suspicious, in quotation marks, because the victim appeared to have been struck in the face by a cocktail glass?
Yes, I did say that to the medical examiner's operations desk.
Okay, so when I was asking you if you ever sent it to Good Sam, and you said, no, that's not true, that's never happened, you were correcting me on the fact that it happened at the medical examiner's office, not at Good Sam.
I responded and answered your question honestly, yes.
Okay, so honestly, you did, in fact, at 10:41 a.m., indicate to another professional involved in the investigation that the circumstance was being treated as a physical assault at that point, correct?
I communicated our suspicions to the medical examiner's office.
And that was at 10:41 or thereabouts in the morning, correct?
That's correct.
Your initial investigation during those obviously critical hours, the beginning hours, led you to believe that there was at least a good possibility, you indicated that you made a phone call, that it was a physical altercation that led to John O'Keefe's death, correct?
That's correct, yes.
What steps did you take to determine whether someone in the house at 34 Fairview may have been involved in that physical altercation that you suspected at the time? You didn't ask anybody to come down to the station, is that right?
That's correct.
And you did not seek to actually go to the physical location of 34 Fairview in those next few hours?
That's correct.
Or the next few days, correct?
Not myself, no.
Okay. As a matter of fact, Trooper Proctor did not either, did he?
No, he did not.
You didn't secure the interior of the house as a potential crime scene. You certainly know how to do that, right?
That's a compound question. Do you want me to answer whether I did it or whether I know how to do it?
Well, I'll ask the question. If you can answer it, please answer it.
Okay.
Can you answer that question?
I can answer that question.
Why don't you answer both of them then?
First portion is we did not secure the home as a crime scene. And the second portion, yes, I do know how to do that.
And you didn't, as a Massachusetts State Police official, you didn't secure the outside as a crime scene either, did you?
I did not, no.
To your knowledge, nobody else from Massachusetts State Police ever did either, did they?
Yes, they did.
How was that done and when?
When members of our office and the CERT team responded to that location and secured the front yard grass area and processed it.
That was at 5:45, 6 o'clock that night. But in terms of securing it as a crime scene, you don't have personal knowledge to that.
I was not present.
Okay. You never took any photos of the interior of the house, correct?
I did not know.
You never caused CSSS to go inside the house and process that house as a potential crime scene, correct?
I did not, no.
No forensic criminalist at your direction ever went into 34 Fairview?
No, they did not.
And the people that you interviewed on January 29th, you already mentioned Ms. McCabe. The other people were her husband, Matt McCabe, correct?
That's correct.
And her brother-in-law, Brian Albert. Is that right?
That is correct.
And all three of them were interviewed where?
They were interviewed at the McCabe residence.
Now, yesterday when you testified, did you indicate that Brian Albert was not present in the home when you interviewed Matt McCabe and Jennifer McCabe?
He was not present in the dining room when we were interviewing each individual separately. I did not see him in the home when we arrived, no.
You and Trooper Proctor collected both of those items you indicated from the floor of the hospital at Good Samaritan, correct?
That's correct.
You testified that you and Trooper Proctor immediately bagged both of those items. They were sort of sopping wet, I think you said.
That's correct.
You indicated that the bags were so wet that you had to take the items back out of the bags and then lay them out on, I think you said, butcher paper. Is that right?
The items were soaked and wet. They were bagged, double bagged, to prevent leakage of physiological fluids and the moisture coming off of it. And then once they were transported to the office, they were laid out on butcher paper in order to dry naturally.
At what point that evening did you finally get those items of clothing out and laid out to dry?
It was late that night, around 10 or so.
So where were the items in the meantime?
They were stored in the back passenger compartment of my pickup truck.
In those double bags?
Correct.
The first actual log of any chain of custody for those items is March 14th, when they were finally submitted 6 weeks later to the crime lab.
That is not true. The first actual log of those items is when we collected them from the hospital.
Where's the log? I'm talking about a physical log, like sign in, sign out log. Where's the log?
It's documented in the reports saying that we collected them.
I know that there's a report. Anybody can write a report, right? I could write a report. Doesn't mean anything. I'm asking for a log. Obviously, when items move in and out of people's custody in an official capacity for the Massachusetts State Police, there's a log of that, correct?
It's documented, yes.
Or at least it should be, correct?
It's documented.
Where's the log of these items before March 14th?
It's documented in the report.
There is no log, is there, Sergeant?
I do not know.
And the first report that indicates anything that happened or was recovered at the location on either February 4th or February 10th, that was first notated in a report dated November 4th, 2023, year and several months later, correct?
If you say so, I do not know the exact date.
You actually responded to 34 Fairview personally, correct?
I personally responded, yes.
Okay. That was because you had received information that Chief Berkowitz had seen something or found something. Is that right? Chief Berkowitz from Canton PD.
That is not correct, no.
Okay. So when you got there, was Chief Berkowitz there?
Yes, he was.
You just happened to go by 34 Fairview at the exact same time on the exact same date as Chief Berkowitz, or was that coordinated in some way?
There was no coordination between me and Chief Berkowitz. As I testified, I had directed the troopers to go by the location. I planned to go by the location in the morning on the way to the office and in the afternoon on the way home, just to see if any more items would reveal themselves. So that morning, I was actually traveling to that location in order to conduct a view of the area to see if any more evidence had been revealed. Prior to my arrival, approximately while I was on Chapman Street, I received a call indicating that Chief Berkowitz was at the location, yes.
And Chief Berkowitz certainly was there.
Yes.
And Chief Berkowitz indicated that as he was driving by, he saw a piece of plastic.
Yes.
And stopped his car and then started making phone calls.
I believe that's what he indicated to the caller, yes.
Did you question Chief Berkowitz about why he was driving by the location in the first place?
Absolutely not.
Okay, you knew at that point that the Canton Police Department had been recused because of at least an appearance or potential for a conflict of interest, correct?
I knew they recused themselves due to only in respect to interviews. They didn't want to conduct interviews with us, side by
Well,
side.
I mean, if there's a conflict of interest, Sergeant, for a department, conducting the interviews is just one aspect of an investigation, correct?
I'm not going to speak to conflict of interest, but yes, conducting an interview is just one aspect of the investigation, yes.
So is it your testimony that your understanding was they couldn't conduct interviews, but they could collect evidence, store evidence, write search warrants, get returns on search warrants, execute search warrants, conduct searches? They could do all that but not conduct interviews?
My understanding was they were recusing themselves from conducting interviews. They still allowed us to use their facilities. We utilized their conference room to conduct interviews. There was evidence being stored at their Sally port, being the vehicle. So that was my understanding.
Isn't it true that you knew that the entirety of the Canton Police Department had recused itself because of a familiarity between one of their members, Kevin Albert, and the Albert family, on whose lawn John O'Keefe was found? That was the conflict, correct?
I knew that that was the connection between them, yes.
And you understood, sir, that that agency was to have nothing, from an investigative standpoint, nothing to do with this investigation, correct?
They were not conducting the investigation, no.
Matter of fact, Trooper Proctor and you supervising him, y'all were conducting the investigation, right?
Our office was conducting the investigation.
So did you find it unusual or suspicious in any way that the chief of police for the conflicted Canton PD was the person driving by 34 Fairview looking for evidence? That Chief Berkowitz from the conflicted Canton PD was at 34 Fairview looking for evidence?
The way you posed the question, I did not find it suspicious at all. He's the chief of the police in the town where he works, and he's driving down the street. I mean, that's not suspicious.
With a conflict of interest on the very case that he's driving by. You certainly knew, as a supervisor over the case officer, that any involvement by Canton Police Department, given the fact that there's a potential conflict, any involvement by them could compromise your otherwise clean investigation. You knew that, right? You returned to the scene on February 10th, is that right? To conduct another search, you said.
I was present on the 10th, yes.
Who dispatched you back to, or did anybody dispatch you back to that location on February 10th? How did you end up there is a better way to ask it.
February 10th, just like previous days, we made plans to go to the location in the morning, in the afternoon, drive by. I was on my way to work and to home. So I traveled that route on purpose. And as evidence revealed itself due to the natural melting of the snow, we would stop and collect the visible evidence.
You believed at this point, sir, that whatever you might collect at the scene would obviously be important, correct?
Anything we collected that had evidentiary value or presented itself as somehow related to the crime or the incident would be collected.
And it would be important to the investigation, right? You treat it as important.
It is important, yes.
So my question is, was, especially as it relates to the February 10th search, where there were multiple items found, did you seek to have CSSS come out and actually either mark with GPS coordinates or measure with cross coordinates exactly where each item of evidence was found?
We did not do that. We had collected so much evidence already, and so much has been documented at that point, that we did not contact crime scene services to come back out and photograph more shards of glass and plastic. We simply collected it for processing.
So the location of each one of those items was not of that great importance to you, at least at that time?
It was of great importance as to the fact that it was located in the vicinity where the victim was found and in the vicinity of other items located of the same characteristic, shape, size, and color.
So that's my question, Sergeant. What does vicinity mean?
In the area.
Okay, what does area mean?
It's a location, specific location.
Okay, are we talking about, because we can do this all day, I guess, are we talking about an area of 5 feet or an area of 50 feet?
Based on where the items were recovered, we're talking about an area approximately of 30 square feet.
We saw photographs, Sergeant, of items that were butted up against a fire hydrant in one instance, correct? Is that yes?
That's correct, yes.
A drinking straw that's out in the road, correct?
That's correct.
Another shard of glass that's in the grass, closer to
correct.
the flagpole, correct?
Correct.
A hat that's under the snow, adjacent to the left side of the flagpole, correct? I'm sorry, it wasn't. It was closer to the electrical box, wasn't it?
No, the pictures documented where the hat was. It was to the right of the flagpole.
So these shards of glass, the point I'm asking is, did you seek to use basic cross coordinates, measurements from something that you know is a known object, like for instance, I don't know, a flagpole or a fire hydrant? 27 inches to the north and a foot and a half to the south of those two known points. That would give you a cross coordinate, correct?
It would document the exact location, correct?
And you did not do that with any of these items, correct?
The items that were not photographed were not also GPS located, but they were within the same vicinity of where the other items were collected.
But again, now we're back to the same question. Your word for vicinity might be different than my word for vicinity, right? When you recover these items, or any other items, it's obviously important to memorialize on the evidence bag or in some other way exactly where they're found, who found them, the date, time, etc. Correct?
We do the best we can to document all known information.
And in terms of the February 10th search, did you bag the items into a single evidence bag that you found that day, or do you recall?
I would have to see the bag.
Are you aware that this particular bag, that bag that contained those 6 items of plastic material that you already deemed was incredibly important to the investigation, was never going into any evidence until March 14th, the date that it was submitted to the crime lab?
I was not aware of that, no.
Did you ever draft a report yourself documenting the recovery of those 6 items and the other 14 items that you said that you found on the same date, February 10th?
I did not, no.
You indicated yesterday on questioning, under questioning by Mr. Lally that Miss Reed's car came in contact with or close to coming in contact with the other vehicle, the Traverse, in the video. Is that right?
As I watched the video, I observed the vehicle come near Mr. O'Keefe's car.
Okay, that's what I want to talk about. Okay, in about the next 3 seconds, Sergeant, I'm asking you to pay special attention to the wheel. Go ahead. What did you notice about the rear wheel of the Traverse?
It appears that there is movement, but the video speaks for itself.
Sergeant, did you have any meetings or communications with Mr. Lally in anticipation of your testimony?
Yes.
Did you write a report about your communications with Mr. Lally?
No, I did not.
Of your testimony.
I don't remember exactly what video Mr. Lally showed me.
But you do recall seeing the video that you saw yesterday, the sort of clear one that has the crime scene tape being put up and all that. You have seen that one before.
Yes.
You indicated that the video, all the videos, everything that you saw yesterday was true and accurate, correct?
The video captures events taking place in an accurate fashion, yes.
In an accurate fashion. All right, that's what I wanted to find out.
I do not know why it is inverted, but that's the way it was presented, collected and presented from Canton Police.
You significantly testified about this video yesterday, did you not?
I testified about this video.
And you testified that it was true and accurate, correct?
Correct.
And you testified that it was reflective of your observations of what was happening in that Sally Port that evening, correct?
I testify that this is a accurate scene and collection of video evidence from the Sally Port.
And as that truck sits in that Sally Port, from the perspective that the jurors are looking at,
Okay.
from all indications, that would appear to be the right side of the truck, the passenger side of the truck, and that taillight that you can see is the right rear taillight from this perspective, correct?
The way it presents itself, yes.
And yesterday, during the entirety of your questioning by Mr. Lally, not once did you mention that this video is actually completely inverted,
I
correct?
did not know.
Mr. Lally didn't ask you if it was inverted, correct?
That's correct.
And if I hadn't gotten up here and begun questioning you, that would be left uncorrected. The appearance of the video looks like the right rear taillight is the taillight that's facing the jurors, facing the viewer, toward the rear of the truck, correct?
As it is frozen, correct.
On Wednesday, you did not mention that this video was inverted, did you?
It was not brought out, no.
Not brought up by, I mean, that's a passive way of saying it. I'm asking you directly. Did you mention that this was an inverted video?
Not on Wednesday, no.
On Thursday, Mr. Lally finished his questioning on Wednesday, then came back on Thursday. You continued on direct examination under questioning by Mr. Lally again. You also, under direct examination, did not mention that this video was inverted, did you?
Did not know.
And then it was my turn to ask you questions. You recall that?
I do.
And then I began asking you questions about the accuracy of this video, and at that time, for the first time, you said it appears that it is a mirror image. It's an inverted video, correct?
I advised you that it is a mirrored image at that point, correct?
Would you agree with me now, as you sit here, that this video, as we're looking at it, is not a true and accurate depiction of what you viewed in that Sally Port that night?
I would not agree with you, no.
Do you believe that what the jurors are seeing right here is true and accurate surveillance footage of the Sally Port that night?
Yes, it's just mirrored.
Which means what's left is right and what's right is left, correct?
Correct.
So it's not accurate, is it?
It's an accurate depiction of what has taken place.
Sergeant Bukhenik, if I were to ask you, let's say you were investigating a circumstance in which a suspect was being identified by 5 witnesses based on a tattoo on that person's left arm. And then you go show that witness, or those series of witnesses, an inverted version of a photograph of that person with the tattoo appearing on his right arm. And those witnesses all say, no, that's not the guy. I remember the guy. The guy had the tat on the left arm. Would you think that that's an accurate depiction of the person with the tattoo? Do you agree with me that an inverted video is not accurate? It's inverted by definition, right?
It's an accurate depiction of the events taking place.
You acknowledge you don't know what may or may not have been recorded without your knowledge.
No.
Right.
So in this video footage, I could tell you that the video is triggered by motion to record.
Well, how much storage did this system have?
I do not know.
What was the level of storage at the time that this video was taken? Was it 60%? Was it 99%? What was it?
I do not know.
So you actually don't know, Sergeant, the inner workings of this system, do you?
I do not know all the inner workings of the system. No.
Sergeant, do you recognize what's depicted in what's just been marked as Exhibit 542?
I do.
It's actually, and that inversion corrects the perspective. Would you agree with that?
I would.
Okay. So now we're looking at well, we've always been looking at, but it's clear that we're looking at the driver's side of the vehicle, correct?
That's correct.
And everything in it's properly oriented, is that right?
It's an accurate depiction of what is taking place.
Meaning right is right and left is left in this video. So the only thing you were going on with regard to the phrase or the statement that you claim my client indicated, where my client indicated she hit him, is coming from Sergeant Good. Is there a single report memorializing that Sergeant Good reported to you that morning before 10:41 a.m. that my client made the statement that she hit him?
I don't believe so.